Hi, my name is Morgan Pitelka. I'm chair of the Department of Asian Studies, and I'm here today to talk with my colleague, Professor Ji-Yeon Jo, who leads our Korean Studies program and is the director of the Carolina Asia Center at UNC Chapel Hill. Hi, Ji-Yeon.
Hi, Morgan. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thanks for talking with me. I was hoping that we could talk today a little bit about what the response of the government has been to the COVID-19 crisis in South Korea.
So the South Korean government response to the outbreak was rather swift. And in the beginning, it seemed to be very successful because for the first month, South Korea had only like 30 confirmed cases, starting from the mid-January to mid-February. But in February 18th, there was a community spread in southeastern region of South Korea through a Shincheonji church, which is considered as one of the cult group. And then the cases of confirmed cases exponentially increased. But starting from around March 10th, I think the confirmed cases are lower than the recovered cases. So actually the graph has, changed. So they had a turning point around
the curve has been
the curve
flattened.
has changed.
That's great.
Yes.
That's the goal, isn't it?
Yes.
What are some of the policies that have been passed, or what are some of the procedures in terms of testing or treatment?
Yes. So in terms of testing, they implemented the drive-through testing, which only takes like 10 minutes. And the people who wants to get tested, they don't have to get out of their car. They can be tested in their car, and then all the automobiles were disinfected after the testing. So which minimizes the contact between the medical professionals and also the citizens. And they also implemented testing booths, which is a lot smaller, but they placed it in airports so that people who need to be tested can go into the telephone booth type of a small area, and then the medical professionals swaps their nose through very small openings created. And so that was testing. And in terms of prevention, South Korean government encouraged its citizens to wear masks in the public spaces. But in the beginning, the country also experienced a severe shortage of masks. So they encouraged private sectors to produce more masks, but also they provide a guarantee that if the outbreak is controlled and if they ought to have some leftover masks, a government promised them they're going to buy back. So that private sectors will not be afraid that they're overproducing, because otherwise they will be, their investment will be lost.
I'm just curious, in general, people in South Korea are quite positive about wearing masks, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a culturally accepted and encouraged
It
practice.
is very culturally accepted, even in just regular winter time with the flu season. South Koreans wear masks. It is considered as an etiquette because you don't want to cough to other person. So yeah, South Koreans are very accustomed to wearing masks. It's opposite. If you don't wear masks, yeah, you're kind of looked socially kind of ostracized.
Right. It's interesting the way that in the United States, the understanding of that seems to be backwards, where people think it's selfish, that it's individuals who don't want to catch the disease and are just trying to protect themselves who wear masks. And only now, I think our attitudes here starting to change. People understand that it's actually for the social good. And in fact, I think the medical advice is changing now, finally. In the United States, people are starting to realize that it's really helpful. Now, what about tracking? What kind of technology has been?
So they mainly use cell phone tracking, right? So if there is a confirmed case, they'll track the person's cell phone and then see where they went for the past 10 or 14 days. That was more extensively used during the outbreak in the religious cult, because it was a kind of secretive. Well, people knew about the existence, but how they recruit their new members was kind of secretive. And there is a certain social stigma with that, the religious group. So the first people who are confirmed cases from the church, they kind of hide where they were about, right? So in order to identify the places they visited, government more extensively used cell phone tracking. But we all know that it's not like precise technology yet. It has around 500 meters of error. But they were able to combine cell phone tracking technology plus personal testimony. They'll encourage people to tell them first, right? And then if there is some gaps in their testimony or discrepancy, they'll do the tracking.
I mean, South Korea, of course, is a democracy, so there must be conversations happening in South Korean society about the ethics of this kind of tracking.
Ethics and privacy. So yes, there's still, the discussion is ongoing, and how much you balance between the protecting privacy of a person or getting necessary data to protect the public safety. So the conversation is, of course, ongoing, and I think it's going to continue even after the post-pandemic period. But now they try to protect the identity of person. So all the people who are the confirmed cases are numbered. So patient number 1, patient number 2, but they release where they were about and then send a notification to individuals who were in that restaurant or in that vicinity, so that people are notified. They were at the same time, they went to some place and then there was COVID-19 cases.
Wow, that's amazing, but also kind of frightening. Yeah, how interesting. So to flip this around, what culturally and socially, what have the responses been? What do South Koreans, not in government, but sort of in everyday life, how are they responding to the COVID-19 crisis?
So people come together during difficult times, right? So there are a lot of support groups, like social supports, like people like packing lunch boxes to support medical workers, or people volunteering to distribute lunch boxes or meals to elderly who lives alone, or to people who are in need. Actually, if government advise you to self-quarantine, actually government sends a package with the essential food and household items, and provides around 550,000 won, which is equivalent to a little bit less than $400 to the individual during the self-quarantine. And so there are a lot of reports about people supporting with each other, and also medical staff too. And social distancing, I think they want to be really respected. Of course, in any country, there are people who do really ridiculous stuff and try to push limits for the social distancing, and but they try to, I think majority of people are respecting those policies, and it has been the advisory level to keep the social distancing, because the government didn't close restaurants or other shopping malls. They're still in operation. If they haven't had any active cases found. If they found active cases, they'll close the shopping malls or restaurants for maybe about a day, and they'll disinfect whole.
It's a much more targeted policy
yes.
that is probably possible because the containment and the testing is so much more advanced. Interesting.
Yes.
So you also, of course, have a background in the field of education. What has the response been in terms of educating people around COVID-19 in South Korea?
Yeah, a lot of social media education. Famous actors and actresses, they made a campaign, hand washing campaign, and then it has been distributed widely. And then I didn't know that I had to wash hands that way, right? So it was very educational, teaching about COVID, how it spread, and a lot of, internet-based education system. And I heard from my friends and my family in Korea that, and also reports too, the flu, actually we technically didn't have a flu season this year because people are like religiously washing their hands.
Silver lining.
So yeah, there's not many flu patients.
Has there been any information out of North Korea about whether or not COVID-19 is affecting the population there, or is it even possible to reliably find out what might be happening on the ground?
So there hasn't much information about North Korea, but their official announcement is that they don't have any COVID cases.
Okay.
However, information from Doctors Without Borders or UNICEF that North Korea requested some essential medical supplies and COVID, PPEs. So I think those are shipped to North Korea. So we know that, North Korea is very close from where the outbreak was initiated. So it is, common sense that they would have some cases.
Yeah.
But we don't know the degree of infection. And one report says there is about 180 deaths and about, close to 3,500 confirmed cases. But that has to be, verified.
I see. And I guess one final question. One of the things we've seen in the United States, and I think in other parts of the what used to be called the West, is unfortunately this rising tide of anti-Asian discrimination and racism. And some people have even labeled COVID-19 the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus. Is there any association of COVID-19 with China in Korean discourse, or is there a new vocabulary that has emerged to talk about the disease, whether it's kind of stereotypical or not?
So in official media and the majority of internet conversations, people use novel coronavirus or COVID-19 as a language, the term. So they don't use like Chinese, flu or Chinese virus, or not at all. However, in the beginning of the outbreak, people tend to kind of distancing themselves from the Chinese origin, and there have been some kind of anti-Chinese sentiment rose. But its government is providing free testing and free treatment for all overseas Koreans and all foreigners. So in fact, the first patient was a Chinese national, and she got treated freely. So policy-wise, they provide almost equal, not exactly equal, but almost equal testing and treatment benefits to foreigners.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. This is a worrisome time for all of us who teach
Mm-hmm.
Asian languages and Asian culture and
Yes.
history, because
Mm-hmm.
we want our students to go overseas and have the chance to study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you have any messages for any students who might be watching this and hoping that they can carry on with their Korean studies?
Okay. Well, for any moment is learning opportunities.
Hmm.
So as we just talked about the anti-Asian sentiment, not only in the United States, but in around the world, I think this is a kind of moment that we need to contemplate and reflect on, because the contagion, the relationship between contagion and Asian American is not new,
Mm.
right? It started in 19th century and it continued from time to time throughout the history. So I think it's a good opportunity to learn more about and reflect and act. So I think our students who will, I know they'll take this very challenging time for the benefit of their own learning and reflecting.
Great. Thank you so much, Ji-Yeon.
Okay. Thank you.